Welcome everybody, welcome back. This is a presentation on the Noble Eightfold Path, understanding the Dhamma. In part one, I discussed the history of Buddhism, the development of the Four Noble Truths, and how the Eightfold Path is the pathway described in the Fourth Noble Truth. The path that leads out of suffering and into liberation from the cycle of samsara, birth and rebirth. So essentially the Eightfold Path is the pathway out of suffering. The particular spiritual flow of Dhamma teaches that there is a way out of suffering. It also acknowledges that we live our life through a worldview, how we see the world. The law of karma is the effect of our behavior on reality. How I act will rebound on me. There is this concept of consequence. This was later adopted into science via Isaac Newton's third law of physics. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. You could say Dhamma meets science. The idea of anicca, impermanence, allows us to live with a lighter touch both consciously yet also materially. Why build a skyscraper when it will ultimately fall down? We can just as easily build modest structures requiring less financial resources, less time, and less effort. The idea of impermanence allows us to live lighter. It softens the egoic touch. It softens the ego's wish for importance, for making a statement, for being seen. Why hold on to anything when it's eventually going to fall down like a sand castle? It's not wise and it's not skillful. Impermanence really helps us to live more lightly. Why add more and more possessions when nothing lasts? If we keep adding more and more possessions, they just end up owning us. Impermanence allows us to let go more. The Buddhist intention is to develop ethically, develop compassion and kindness, becoming wise for this lifetime, essentially. Each element of this system is an essential part of the spiritual flow. The first element, samadhi or right view, also translated as right understanding, is very important. How we clarify intentions, how we see the world. This will then guide our behavior and livelihood. What are the efforts that make us happy in the long term? It really comes down to purifying the mind, bringing wholesome qualities into the mind, removing the weeds and planting the seeds. That's the pathway towards advancement, towards evolution, towards the kind of happiness we speak of in the spiritual flow, a deeper fulfillment. Developing mindfulness allows us to focus on the quality of our experience and become aware of what is ethical conduct, what is good for us, what is good for the world. What are you devoted to? What is your strategy for happiness? The narrative of capitalism is the promise of consumerism improving lives and products bringing happiness. This basic promise is inaccurate. It just isn't true. it is never going to fulfill you to buy more things, and it's the treadmill to emptiness. I would say the difference between consumerism and this Eightfold Path is that the Eightfold Path is the treadmill to fulfillment, whereas consumerism is the treadmill to emptiness. Try it out, and definitely don't take my word for it. The Buddha uses a user manual, offers a user manual, yet insists we have to try out and see if it works for us. That's the key. We get to try it out for ourselves. The problem is not all in the wanting, it's also in the knowing. Is that really what I want? Is that really what I want? That's where the importance of meditation is, in the seeing, how we see the world, in seeing that everything comes and goes. All things arise and fall away. All is impermanent and unstable, including the self. As practitioners, we are training the mind, and in training the mind, we have to learn to tame the mind, to be skillful in how we go about our meditation. Meditation is observation. We learn to see our conditioning, and with this insight we can stop our own suffering and stop hurting other people. We can then stop their suffering. The more we start noticing, the more we can do about it. Essentially, do we develop mindfulness or repeat the same mistakes? Do I lie, steal, kill, or do I develop and purify my mind? These pathways are mutually exclusive. They cannot both occur at the same time. I cannot continue to purify my mind whilst engaging in unethical conduct. Let's consider some factors of the mind causing some discomfort. Ill will, anger, greed, cruelty. Where do they come from? From a deep, unconscious belief that wanting and getting are where happiness lies. I want this, but do I really want this? Experience of desire can feel good looking through magazines or catalogs, window shopping, or browsing. If you go out and buy those things, you could easily feel a short-term high, bring it home and feel, oh, great. And then what replaces that is an empty feeling. The empty feeling will return when you realize that objects do not cause a deeper pleasure or fulfillment. It's a short-term high. The resolution of desire is short-lived and not sustained. It's merely a short-term pinnacle. Renunciation does make a certain amount of sense. We have a deep sensual desire that is acquisitive, seeking to acquire and earn things. Our unsophisticated monkey brain wants more things. Consider that we humans have around 50,000 separate thoughts each day, many of them on the same topic. It's kind of frightening, really, that we're repeating all these thoughts. What to do about it, and how to shift that. The Buddha coined the term kapasita, monkey-like mind, for this. He observed, just as a monkey swinging through the trees grabs one branch and lets it go, only to seize another, so too that which is called thought, mind, or consciousness arises and disappears continually, both day and night. The monkey mind is the agitated, easily distracted, and incessantly moving behavior of the mind. That's what we're seeking to perceive, to see, to become mindful of, to observe. The more we observe it, the more we can see the patterns, the more we can start to shift the pattern, adjust the pattern. It's not just the seeing, it's the way of seeing. It's how we see it, how we see things. If we only look superficially at the surface, we miss the wisdom. For instance, anger and hostility can lead to happiness. Out of my childhood pain, I can learn to see pain. I can see the pain of others. From suffering, I will develop compassion for others, as well as the awareness of the propensity within myself for ill will. I will gain a great understanding of the human world, of the world in which we live in, of this particular element of my life, of how I see the world. The change is to start to see everyone as me, to see that everyone is me, even those we hate. If someone is terribly wounded, the only way is to love them. At least we must feel some compassion for their suffering. How we're conditioned to perceive is how we perceive. Perceptions lead to thoughts. Thoughts lead to actions. The media conditions our perceptions. It's essential that we develop mindfulness into the spiritual apparatus of our mind. Self-perception changes how we perceive others and how we see the world. Sit and watch the insanity of your own mind, and you'll see how we project onto others on the outside, on the external. In deeper meditation, we have to own these parts of ourselves that we project outwardly. To see deeply is to unravel the layers within our consciousness that condition us towards certain states of mind and states of being, which lead to thoughts and actions down the road, consequences. Meditation is an access point into various emotions, all emotions in fact, including anger. It's a safe access point, or a safe way in which we can observe those trigger points that cause the emotions down the line. Mindfulness allows us to see how we react to the world as an observer. We can learn to see the ideologies that came out of our family of origin. We can see the source of our suffering. The process of individuation and personality specificity is how we have been conditioned to being. The source is in our childhood and childhood indoctrination. Meditation allows us to see beyond that. I am not my personality. Our personality is not fundamentally who we are. It's a short-term affectation, and the personality contains formulas to help us succeed in life. These winning formulas are based on how we perceive life as a child. Our personality is based on factors within our childhood and how we manufactured responses to our environment. That's why often we use manipulation when we are not being mindful. And And people, underlying their personalities is often manipulative quality. It's attempting to take things for the self that don't belong to us, to infiltrate other people's perceptions and behavior, to control how people respond to their environment and hence influence their behavior. You can see grown-up adults having tantrums if they don't get their own way. Where does this come from? How do we stop these cycles? The goal of meditation is becoming that which observes my personality. It's creating the space, freedom, and capacity to love, to overcome addictions, and to overcome compulsions, to move into the source of the patterns. And once we become aware of the patterns and the source of the patterns, they immediately start to change. Awareness is powerful. What do I do which I think will bring me more happiness? Look at beliefs that you think will make you happy. That's an important step. Become mindful of the beliefs that you think will make you happy. Watch, how does life unfold? What beliefs have led to misery? What beliefs have led to more love and compassion? So we can look back at our lives, look back at our lifetimes, and test it out. See which beliefs have been, which beliefs have worked skillfully, which have helped us develop more love and compassion, which have done the opposite. We can start to observe what is the chain of reactivity and become mindful of it. Meditation essentially is pausing and stopping to let go of the pattern. It's not the same as letting go of just the reactivity, just how we respond to a particular source. It's seeing the whole pattern, seeing the beginning, the middle, and the end, seeing it in its entirety and understanding the substance of it, the consequences of that pattern. We observe the emotion as well as experience the emotion. Mindfulness is observing the emotion, experiencing it, seeing it as an observer, being completely aware of it. And when we're outside of it, we're not immersed in it. We can be in it, but not of it. This is what to be skillful is, and to develop skillfulness is to develop insight and wisdom. It's the goal of the Eightfold Path. And the spiritual Dhamma, the flow of this spiritual wisdom, is to become architects navigating through our consciousness, and essentially to change the architecture of our consciousness, so we become empowered to see the world as it is, to see ourselves as it is, and to see fulfillment and happiness in the best possible way for ourselves and the world at large. So I want to thank everyone for their attendance today and wish you a wonderful day. I hope you've learned something about the spiritual Dharma of Buddhism and put the Eightfold Path in some context that is helpful and beneficial for you. So thank you very much, everyone, and have a blessed day.